On the 6th of August 1945, the United States detonated an atomic bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. Then 3 days later, on the 9th of August 1945, they did the same over the Japanese city of Nagasaki. And these two bombings ultimately brought about the end of the Second World War. 15th of August 1945, Japan officially surrenders, bringing about, as I just said, the end of the Second World War. Now, the impact that these two bombs have had on human history cannot be overstated. The existence of nuclear weapons has completely altered the ways in which great or superpowers conduct global affairs, the way in which warfare is fought. Many argue that we haven't had a major conflict between two powerful nations since the Second World War because of the existence of nuclear weapons. But at the same time, the existence of nuclear weapons has the potential, people would argue, to wipe out humanity, or at least to end civilization as we know it, because of the destructive power of atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs. But the question is, why did the United States go about building an atomic bomb in the first place? And the answer to that question is because of events in Germany. In 1933, Adolf Hitler obviously came to power, and he created the Nazi German state. Now, in 1938, two German chemists, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, had split the nucleus of uranium atom. They were basically taking neutrons and firing it at the heaviest element, uranium, and a colleague, Lisa Meitner, interpreted their results and basically wrote a paper in the journal Nature to communicate the significance of what they have done. And this it didn't wake up, but it alarmed Leo Szilard, who motivated Einstein to sign a letter that he would write and send to the United States President Franklin Roosevelt to warn the seriousness of the situation, that the Germans might have the ability to develop an atomic bomb, and hence the United States has to develop one before the Germans could. Leo Szilard was a Hungarian-born Jewish physicist. Well, he had left Hungary and went to Berlin in Germany. Because of regime change in Hungary, there was an anti-Semitic government in Hungary, limited his opportunities for advancement. He went to Germany, studied engineering, became quite close with Albert Einstein, got more and more involved in physics. When Hitler came to power in Germany, he then fled to the United States. And he was one of the first people to recognize the ability to put Einstein's equation E equals mc squared into practice with this concept of developing a nuclear chain reaction. So when he heard about Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann bombarding uranium with neutrons to develop a new substance, barium, which was what their results uncovered until Lisa Meitner communicated the significance of this, he realized that the potential of developing a very, very powerful weapon is there, and it's the Germans who are going to do this. And at about the same time, 1938, Hitler had just recently occupied the Sudetenland and then conquered Czechoslovakia, and now he was stopping the export of uranium, and this really alarmed Leo Szilard. Now, Einstein was also living in the United States at this time, and Leo Szilard realized that to get the United States President, Franklin Roosevelt, to recognize the seriousness of the situation, he would need authority, someone like Einstein. So he traveled to where Einstein was on vacation, met up with Einstein, got Einstein to agree to sign this letter. He then was in contact or friends with a United States economist, Alexander Sachs, who would meet Roosevelt on several occasions. He got him to then communicate the letter to Franklin Roosevelt, and Franklin Roosevelt would then authorize the United States to go about investigating uranium. In 1941, when the United States got attacked by Japan, this project to develop a nuclear bomb became much, much more serious, and eventually Leslie Richard Groves would be tasked with creating this project, which would be named the Manhattan Project. He would eventually put Robert Oppenheimer as being the head physicist who would oversee the project, and then we know the United States eventually developed the atomic bomb. Unfortunate, well, maybe unfortunately is not the right word, but the United States would develop the bomb at the time that Nazi Germany had already surrendered. Germans were out of the war. The reason that they built the bomb in the first place was to have this weapon before Hitler has the weapon. Germany had surrendered, but the Japanese continued to fight in the war. At this stage, Japanese cities like Tokyo and various other cities were being firebombed. There's an incident where it's believed that 100,000 people were killed in one night of firebombing on Tokyo. So there were a few Japanese cities which were largely untouched by United States aerial bombings. Nagasaki and Hiroshima were two of these cities. So when it came to demonstrating the destructive ability of these atomic bombs, that is why those cities were selected.